Michigan State, who was the favorite going in, Nebraska, another favorite going in, Northwestern was not even thought to be that great, but they're leading the conference right now in total wins. Michigan, who was supposed to be much better than they have been, in Iowa, surprisingly at 2-0 in the conference. But this narrows down to who's the best possible team, and that's Michigan with Denard Robinson. I think a little underrated, actually, right now. So, Michigan takes that conference. Now, on to the Big Ten Leaders Division. This is pretty sad. Wisconsin in an awful down year. I know they were able to beat Purdue yesterday, and they looked much, much better. Monty Ball finally got it going, with James White also playing well. But they do have a guy named Joel Stavi, who's not an amazing quarterback. Not terrible, but not amazing. And an okay defense. Their metrics aren't great. They're 26th in points against, but not really ever an overpowering defense. So, it should be a down year for them, correct? Well, no, it's not correct, because Purdue, Indiana, and Illinois are all very, very bad. All have not won a game in conference. Ohio State and Penn State cannot make the final this year. So, it'll be Wisconsin, in my opinion, versus Michigan. And whenever Wisconsin and Michigan get together, it's a very, very tight struggle. But surprisingly, in my opinion, Wisconsin will eke this out. Wisconsin is very, very well suited to play the much speedier Michigan team, so Wisconsin wins that battle. And then you look at the most powerful conference in the country, the SEC. In the SEC East, the part that has been down a little bit in recent years, Florida and South Carolina reign supreme over this. They also have Georgia, who's been very, very strong. Actually, have been in the top 10 most of the season. So, you look at this conference, and you got to hand it to Florida. Florida's been very, very strong. And Driscoll, the quarterback, Jeff Driscoll, has not been supremely good, I would say. You know, he's only has 836 yards passing. But this is a team that has ran for 233 yards per game. Remember, they're 118th in passing, actually, which is very, very bad. But 14th in the country in rushing, 6th in points against with 12.3, and the SEC defense and rushing win championships. So they will win the East Division. And then in the West, surprising Mississippi State has been very good. They have not lost a game yet. LSU at 6-1, and then Alabama at 6-0. Obviously, you got to give it to the team that's looked the best in the country this season, and that is Alabama. Alabama will win the SEC West, and then easily take care of Florida in the final. That'll be a great game, but I think Alabama will pretty handily beat them. And to finish off my BCS coverage of the conferences, in the Pac-12, Oregon State, two teams who have been very good this year, along with Stanford, who I don't think will put up a threat to either of them. And for that matter, I don't think Oregon State will put up a threat to Oregon. So Oregon will take the North pretty hands down. That team is just so much faster than the rest of the country. You know, over there, they run for 302 yards per game. And they score 52.3 points per game. Another unheralded thing about this team, they're always thought to have a bad defense. Well, they're 32nd in the country in points allowed. And that's saying something considering how much their defense is on the field with how fast their team scores. So Kenyon Barner and DeAnthony Thomas, they'll ride those two to the Pac-12 final. And then, of course, in the South, there's USC and UCLA. Now Arizona State at 5-1 has looked like a pretty good team, but I don't think they're in the class of SC or even UCLA. But you have to give this to USC because they are the better team. I love UCLA. They're one of my favorite teams in college, not just because I'm usually a fan, but because they're actually very fun to watch with Brett Hundley and Jonathan Franklin over there. And don't forget that very much improved defense this season with just a very strong team this season. Shaq Evans has actually been a fairly good receiver. They've lacked in the receiving game. And on defense, of course, they've just been mobbing the ball against Utah. Their D-line looked just fabulous. So I'm kind of lavishing on UCLA, even though I said USC would win this. And I kind of dissed USC early at the show. That's a little ironic. But USC will win that. And then the best team in the Pac-12 is Oregon. Oregon will win the Pac-12 hands down. In my opinion, they are the top team in the country not named Alabama. Okay, now quickly before I wrap up the show, I kind of want to switch gears to baseball. And I found a trend in baseball right now. It's a little strange to me because there are so many good players who have just hit for an awful average. And I'm going to do the same thing with ERA. I think it's very bizarre. You look at Carlos Pena, 197 average. Everyone likes Carlos Pena, gets on base a lot. He did have a 330 on base percentage with a 197 average. But he hit 197. And teams are going to want to sign him once again this offseason. Adam Dunn, 41 home runs, 96 RBIs, 204 average. So, two players right there. Bad average, thought of as good players. Drew Stubbs hit 213. But you know what? He steals bases. He gets on, well, he does not get on base. He has a 277 on base percentage. He steals bases and hits home runs. People think Drew Stubbs is a great hitter. I kind of disagree. He's really struggled at the big league level. Justin Smoke, 19 homers, 51 RBIs. Doesn't really get on base, as a 217 average. Thought of as a pretty adequate first baseman. Dan Uggla, thought of as one of the best second basemen in the big leagues. 19 home runs, 78 RBIs, 220 average. Jamiel Weeks, not thought of as that great. That's one little blip on my theory right here. Mark Reynolds, 23 homers, 69 RBIs, 221 average. Colby Rasmus, 23 homers, 75 RBIs, 223 average. Kelly Johnson, 16 homers, 55 RBIs, 225 average. Dustin Ackley, 12 homers, 50 RBIs, 226 average. You know, you look around Curtis Granderson, 43 homers, 106 RBIs, 232 average. Ricky Weeks, 21 homers, 63 RBIs, 230 average. I could do this for hours. What has happened to the art of hitting for average in baseball? It had looked like a trend that a lot of baseball was going back to more small ball stuff, but I beg to disagree just based on that. And then you look at the pitching like this. There are some very, very strong names at the bottom of the ERA charts. And let's start with Ricky Romero, who had maybe like they call it on ESPN, the Cy Yuck Award season. A 5.77 ERA. He was one of the most heralded pitchers in baseball going into this season. Luke Hochover, a pretty solid pitcher year in, year out. 5.73 ERA. Ubaldo Jimenez, very, very good pitcher. One of the best in baseball a few years ago. 5.40 ERA. Tim Lincecum, two-time Cy Young Award winner. 5.18 ERA. Irvin Santana, last season one of the best starters in baseball. 5.16 ERA. Bruce Chen, annually around 3.9 to 4.1. 5.07 ERA. Ivan Nova went 12-8 but had a 5.02 ERA. And then you go on the line. John Lester, 4.82 ERA. Derek Holland, 4.67 ERA. Josh Beckett, 4.65 ERA. Clay Buchholz, 4.56 ERA. Tommy Hanson, 4.48 ERA. Dan Herron, 4.33 ERA. So ERA and average are looking very, very bad on the MLB landscape right now. I really can't pinpoint a reason for that. I mean, there are some, it's very top heavy because there are some very strong people here. I mean, obviously people like Verlander and Weaver. It's very top heavy with guys like that. Okay, now I'm just going to quickly summarize. I don't want to do MVP. It's been done too much, but I want to go over who I think is the top rookie hitter in baseball. Rookie pitcher is a different thing, but I want to go over the top rookie hitter not named Mike Trout. So this counts NL and AL batters here. And if you go by average, it's obviously Jordan Pacheco, who's been very, very solid with a 309 average, but hasn't done much else as a third baseman. You know, Matt Carpenter hasn't done much, hitting 294. Yoenis Cespedes, 23 homers, 82 RBIs, 16 steals, and 292 has obviously got to be considered. Will Middlebrooks, in 75 games, had 15 homers and 54 RBIs with a 288 average. Those are two guys to keep in mind. Willen Rosario had 28 homers, 71 RBIs, and a 270 average. Bryce Harper, obviously the most heralded rookie not named Mike Trout, 22 homers, 59 RBIs, 18 steals, and a 270 average. Todd Frazier, the Cincinnati third baseman, 19 homers, 67 RBIs, and a 273 average. So, when you're looking at this and you want to determine who's the best hitter, first you have to start with home runs. In my opinion, for a rookie can hit for average because the pitcher has not seen him yet. But what they can't do for the rest of their career, if they can't really do it during the rookie season, is hit for a bunch of power. And the person who's hit for the most power, or the two people, are Willen Rosario and Yoenis Cespedes. On defense, Bryce Harper has really looked like the best rookie. He's looked absolutely tremendous with his physical tools. His smarts maybe need to get a little better. So, and obviously base running wise, Aoki on the Brewers with his 30 steals has been very good. He also had 10 homers, 50 RBIs, and a 288 average. So, without further ado, I announce my top rookie hitter this season, and that would be Yoenis Cespedes. Cespedes has looked like the best rookie not named Mike Trout to me. And the reason why is he's carried a team. And that's a big deal to me. Because Cespedes has had to have a leadership role on a team that was almost figureheadless. So, Cespedes wins that. Okay, now, this has been an interesting show. I did some very important talk for you guys to know. And as in the words of Martin Luther, the famous theologist, see, I'm going to history here. Sorry. Here I stand. I can do no other. Thank you for listening to my show tonight. This has been me making history on Sam's Situation. Thank you so much for listening.